Good afternoon, everyone. It is 1 minute past noon here. My name is Larry Socha. I am the Public Affairs Officer here at U.S. Embassy Bridgetown, Barbados. So happy you're able to join us for another one of these virtual sessions during International Education Week. This is going to be an incredible hour as we talk about another career day, but the career for today is sports and college athletics. And so excited to have two young women with us this afternoon now, who are going to tell us about their journey with university sports in the United States. So first, we'll start with Miss Anicia Wood, who's currently the Athlete Commission Chair at the Barbados Olympic Association. She's also an owner and founder of Carib Athletes, which is a small business which aims to showcase the athletic skills of prospective student athletes. But she started her sports journey right here at Christ Church Foundation Secondary School, graduated from Barbados Community College in 2003, and went on to play 3 seasons of volleyball at St. John's University, completing her Bachelor of Arts degree in environmental studies there. She stayed in the United States, continued to play volleyball at University of New Haven on the volleyball team there. And so she played a year for the New Haven Chargers and actually ended up achieving a MBA degree in global marketing as well. So, Anicia, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me, Larry. Okay.
No, go ahead, please.
No, you could go ahead.
We also have Miss Tristan Evelyn, who's joining us from the United States right now. She is currently a student at the University of Houston and was just named the captain of the University of Houston's women's track and field team, which is 2-time conference champion, NCAA national qualifier, and she is a Barbadian national athlete. So happy that she's able to join us today. She's currently studying at the University of Houston and wants to continue her studies in human resource development as well. She is a nutrition and fitness enthusiast and can't wait to hear both of Anicia and Tristan's stories this afternoon. So Anicia, over to you.
Thank you again, Larry. So I guess I can start with my journey to becoming a student athlete. As Larry mentioned, I went to the Christ Church Foundation Secondary School, and I was always involved in sport, some sort of sporting activity. I did everything that was offered at school, whether it be karate, gymnastics, swimming, a little bit of track and field, more so high jump and javelin, basketball and tennis. And tennis was really my main sport, but after a while, I eventually got into volleyball after the volleyball coach, Mr. Skeet there, encouraged me to come and try. So I decided to finally try, went to a practice session, fell in love with the sport, dropped every single sport after that. Shortly after, I made a school team, competed in the secondary school competition. The national junior coach happened to see me play, and then, of course, I was invited to national trials, and from there, everything really took off for me. I made a national team, the junior national team, and I can't remember if it was our first tournament or our second tournament, but we traveled to Puerto Rico to compete in a continental tournament called NARCECA Junior Championships. And it's really countries from the USA, Canada, Mexico, and Barbados. We were the only English-speaking Caribbean country there. And of course, these teams are powerhouse teams. So we competed, we lost every single match. But the last game, I had a really, really good match. And, we headed to the locker room, and my manager, she called me outside and she was like, I need to speak to you. So I'm trying to retrace my steps to figure out if I did something that I wasn't supposed to do. But luckily, it wasn't anything of that nature. And she introduced me to the coach at St. John's University who was there scouting. And, I didn't say much, but the coach basically had a pretty sharp conversation. And she said, I would like to offer you a full scholarship to come play and compete with the St. John's University volleyball team. She gave me a piece of paper, and basically she wrote on the paper, 4-year scholarship, tuition covered, room and board covered, books covered, fees covered, and then she drew like a Nike sign, the logo of Nike, and that is all I saw because, of course, I'm 16, 17 years old, and I'm into brands and material things, so I didn't know what to think of it at the time, but of course I was ecstatic. So we got back to the hotel room, and I decided to call my sister who lives in New York. But at the time, I did not know that St. John's University was actually in New York City. So I told my sister, guess what? I got an offer from a coach here. She offered me a scholarship to come play at St. John's University. And my sister was happy because, of course, St. John's University is 15, 20 minutes away from where she lives. So finding that out, I was pretty much sold. I was like, I'm going to St. John's University. But for me, the recruiting process was somewhat reversed in a sense. So here I am. I'm not sure how volleyball scholarships were. I wasn't even too aware of scholarships at the time. I not too long started playing volleyball. And it was really to now do the recruiting steps to actually secure the scholarship. So of course, when the tournament happened, it was in the summer, and volleyball is a fall sport. So that is usually from August to November, December. So it was highly unlikely that I would be able to get all the work done, the paperwork done, to actually go there in two months' time. So luckily, I asked the coach if she would allow me to come the following year, and she waited for me. And this is where everything really started to happen. So the process involves everything from registering to take the SAT exam and studying for the exam, because the exam is not a typical exam compared to CSEC exams as well, and then taking the exam, and of course registering with the NCAA eligibility center. So this is basically a center that clears you or deems you eligible to play an NCAA collegiate sport. So it's whether you meet the academic or the athletic criteria to play. And from there, it was really contacting Foundation and BCC and having my transcript sent, doing the required work. And obviously all of this took time. And I was lucky that, the coach really wanted me to compete and play for her team, to give me this time to actually get all of the documents and paperwork done. And of course, I eventually got an opportunity to actually go and see the school. So she offered me the chance to have an official visit. I went there, I think, in the Christmas time. I saw the campus, the classrooms, the court. So this basically, I don't want to say cemented my choice to go to St. John's, but at least I knew where I was going to play and what the rooms looked like. And once everything was done, once I got admitted to the university, once I was eligible to play, I eventually got a letter, the National Letter of Intent, which is really a contract that binds you to play for that institution. So I got the letter. I got a document called the I-20, and the I-20 is this is the document you need to take to the embassy to get your visa. So once you sign your NLA and you get your I-20, you're well on your way. So of course, a year after now, I am actually starting my first year as a student athlete at St. John's University. And that is really how the process actually began for me. And I'll let Tristan go ahead. I'm sure her journey is actually a little different from mine. So Tristan, you could go ahead and introduce yourself and also tell us a little bit about your journey as well. I think you're muted, Tristan. Still can't hear you.
Got it.
There you go.
Hear me now?
There you go.
There you go. Yes, good morning, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I'm really happy to be here and share with you guys my journey. If you guys can hear any background noise, I'm sorry, that's a construction outside. But yeah, my journey began as a young female that was just in the sports. I attended Mount Tabor Primary School. It's a primary school in St. George, and it's a small primary school. Basically, I always liked running out, like playing sports outside. And I would remember at lunchtime or even after school, I would dare anyone to just race me. I knew I was fast, and I would just, anyone that would just be willing to race me in the street barefooted, I would mainly pick on the guys to try to race them, because they were the ones that were like, oh, you can't beat me, you're a girl. So I wanted to prove them wrong. And my primary school coach, Carl Pepper, he was the one that really pushed my parents to, take me into like the track and field realm and put me in a club. I quickly joined the BC Track Club at about age 4 or 5. But I didn't stay there too long because my uncle, Everton Evelyn, he was a former Barbadian athlete, and he competed professionally in the European circuit for a little while, running with like Obadiah Thompson and so forth. And he was in the Rising Stars Track and Field Club. And I quickly joined with him in Rising Stars at age, I think it was 5. 2 years later, I found myself making my first Barbados junior team at the CUT Games in St. Lucia. Can't remember the exact year, But I remember just being thrilled, over the moon to just be able to experience going to a different country and just racing people from all over the Caribbean. And I don't remember that I did too well, but it fueled the fire in me to just want to get better. And I remember I took my training really serious from a young age. I just knew that I wanted to be the best I could be. And years, fast forward to a couple of years, I ran for knapsack and stuff like that. And I think knapsack really solidified to me how good I could be. I won Victrix my final year at knapsack, and going into Springer Memorial, I was elated. I'm like, I'm about to go to school with a lot of rich sporting history, and a lot of rumors were saying, oh, she's going to Lodge. But in my mind, I'm like, no, I want to stay here at Springer Memorial. Springer felt like home. And sure enough, when I got to school there, the teachers and the students just embraced me. Akila Jones, Shadi Mariah Greenwich, they were all athletes who were ahead of me, but they all took me under their wing, and they all kind of like showed me the ropes, kept encouraging me that, one day you could, do something good. And in their own personal journeys, when they left Barbados and they gained scholarships, they would come back like during their break from school, and they would come back and they would give workshops and stuff like that. And these workshops were inspiring to me because they told us about how the process worked. And basically, I wanted to find out more information. So Shadi Mariah Greenwich, she was also a former athlete from Spring Memorial, and she attended the University of Houston. She was like my big sister, so I could always rely on her to get any knowledge or information I needed. And her coach at the time, Sean Heaney, who has become like a mentor to me, he has a huge influence in a huge influence in my life to this day. And he was the one that really guided me through the whole recruiting process and everything. So after being at Spring Memorial School, I competed I represented Barbados at a number of games, like the Carifta Games, Youth Olympics, World Youth. All of these gained me the attention of recruiters from different universities, and they were the ones that reached out to me. I didn't really understand like the significance of it, but University of Houston was one of the main ones that kept calling and reaching out to him to try to get in contact with me. At my, I think it was my second last Carifta Games in, where was it? St. Kitts, yeah, St. Kitts. Debbie Ferguson McKenzie, she is an Olympian for the Bahamas. She was able to see me perform, in person, and she was formerly the women's coach at the University of Houston. And we had a conversation, and she told me herself that they were interested in, getting to know me and offering me a full scholarship. And we actually had such a great connection in our first meeting. We have very similar stories about how we got started into track and field, and just the role that track and field has played in our lives. So pretty much after that, I went back to Barbados and I tried to learn as much as I could about the university, the program. And then I learned about all the greats that are the rich history that the University of Houston has in terms of the coaching. We have the head coach, Leroy Burrell. He was a former world record holder in the 100 meters. And then, of course, the Michael Phelps of track and field, Carl Lewis, he's currently my coach. And just learning that the university was filled with so much legends, I wanted to be in that type of environment. But of course, Sean Dupini, as I mentioned before, my mentor, he was the one that helped me to look past the athletic program. He always encouraged me to look at the environment the school is in. Is it going to be weather that I was going to potentially put me in a position to thrive in? Because we are from Barbados, we're from the Caribbean, and we are not accustomed to the cold weather. So I knew that these were questions I needed to ask and not just look at it from an athletic standpoint. He also asked me, like, what were some of the things I wanted to accomplish outside of track and field. What did I want to become in after my career was over? And all these were questions that at the time I'm like, I'm just trying to run track, like that's all I'm trying to do. But I really had to take some time and put some thought into it. I remember at one point I just was so focused on I wanted to go to a big school like LSU and USC and Florida State University, but because of his guidance, I was able to make the best decision for me, which was going to University of Houston. It didn't happen the way I wanted it to, in that after I registered for Clearinghouse, which is the NCAA that Anicia was talking about. So when you register for the NCAA, they approve you for eligibility at different levels. So it goes from junior college to NAIA, NCAA, Division One, Division Two, Division Three. I got cleared up to Division Two. I was 16 years old when I applied to the NCAA, and in a sense, my grades and everything were fine, but I was 16 years old when I left Barbados, and they were like, "Take a year, go to the farm," and I was like, "No, I'm ready to leave." I just wanted to get on my journey on, and I went to junior college, and there I went to Monroe College in New Rochelle, New York, and I had an amazing group of coaches that were willing to, just prepare me for what Division One collegiate sports was all about. With their help and their guidance, I don't think that I would have been quite ready for the University of Houston. I think it matured me a little bit more in the sense where I could handle the pressures, the hostility, not the hostility, but the complexities of being a student athlete in the Division One, all the requirements and stuff that are required of you. And so, yeah, that's how I got recruited and how my journey began in the United States.
Yeah, Tristan, it's funny because everybody's journey is going to be different. And it could be frustrating having to register and make sure you meet all the criteria and the requirements that you need to be eligible, not only for like the NCAA or the NAIA, but also admission to the university. So I know that is a challenge just actually trying to get there. But when you get there, there's so many positive experiences that we have that we could share as student athletes. Like for me, apart from learning the skills that you learn through sport, whether it be discipline and teamwork and time management, there are a lot of different resources that, well, once you go to university as a student athlete, they want you to succeed. I truly believe they want you to succeed. So they're going to put things in place to help you to succeed. So for instance, obviously our schedules, well, I'm no longer a student athlete, but as a student athlete, the schedule is hectic. Obviously you are now basically doing two full-time jobs as a student and as an athlete. And the day could start as early as, let's say, 5:30, 6 o'clock, whether you live on campus or whether you live off campus, just having to go to gym first in the morning, a 2-hour session at the gym, then having to go to class that is at 9 or 8:30. And, because of most of the games and tournaments happen in the evening, coaches want you to schedule your classes really early. So you're tired after the gym session and you have to shower in the locker room and head straight to class. Many times, if you weren't disciplined enough, of course, we would head back to our dorms or our apartments and take a nap and probably skip the first class. But this is what sports teach, yeah? So having a schedule as hectic as ours, obviously you have mentors and you have tutors that the athletic departments usually give athletes. Like if you're struggling in something, they always give you a tutor. You could have your personal tutor based on the budget and the school that you go to. There's study hall sessions, which are, you don't necessarily want to go to study hall, but you see the importance of study hall because you miss so much classes. If you have away games of travel, let's say you're traveling hours on a bus or you have to take a plane, obviously you're going to miss classes, study hall sessions on a bus, being able to have study hall sessions at school. And this helps you, of course, stay on track. Apart from that, their resources, the athletic centers are amazing. First of all, like some of the schools, their athletic centers could compare to professional teams. You have a highly trained staff, whether it be the coaches or the assistant coaches or the athletic trainers or the fitness and conditioning trainers. So you always have people there in a position to help you to succeed. And I truly enjoyed playing in New York City, the Big Apple. I played with teammates from China and Ukraine and Kazakhstan, and being able to play with them, learn their culture, their style. That was truly an amazing experience for me. And, you know, being able to then meet other people and network. And as I said before, I played in New York City. So being able to go to Madison Square Garden, to me, that was at the top of my list, because you see it on TV with the NBA games and everything, but then be able to go for free and watch your college basketball team play, like that was a highlight for me. And I'm sure you had some positive experiences as well on the track and in the classroom, if you want to share.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct. It is a hectic, almost crazy experience being a student athlete. As you said, it demands a lot out of you from, I mean, there were times where I would wake up in the morning, I would have a weight session, grab a little bit of breakfast, head to class. I don't know about the showering part, because sometimes you didn't even have time to do that. But you go to class, and after class, you might be able to squeeze in a little bit of lunch, and then head over to the second part of your practice session. And then for me, I had a lot of night classes. So sometimes I had classes from 5:30 to 9 o'clock, and was just tired. And then after that, you still have to find time to stretch, to eat, to roll out, to complete some assignments that you may have. So it is a lot, and sometimes it does get overbearing, but you have a great staff that the university provides for you to help you to manage. And that's one of the key things that has helped me to succeed in the classroom and on the track is time management, and to prioritize, what's important. If like, for example, you have an assignment that's due at 12 o'clock, but there's a football game that's going on and you really want to go, but you got to prioritize what's most important, which is getting the work done, getting your assignment turned in. There are many times I remember, especially in junior college, where we would go to a track meet, and I would miss a lot of classes because most of my classes were on Fridays. And I would then have to be at the track meet. Like either before or after my event, I would have to be on the track with my laptop, finishing assignments at the track meet. So it's not like I can really take my mind away from the academics, but just knowing that even at the track meet, I have to make sure that I'm still on top of my schoolwork, because in essence, you are a student before you are an athlete. And if you aren't on top of things as a student, then you can't perform. So that's one of the key things. But the university, as Anicia said, provides a lot of resources, and I urge student athletes to take advantage of them. As a student athlete, you are not only given essentials that you may need as an athlete, but you are given, on top of what the university already provides. The university provides tutors and whatnot, but your internal athletic department also provides you with one-on-one tutors. They provide with study, like you said, study halls. We also have something called, what's it called now? It's called a tutoring session with your advisors, where they tell you one-on-one, like what your schedule is, what assignments you have due on during the week, and like for the rest of the semester. I know that was one thing I utilized because, for example, I was trying to get a 4.0 in the semester, and she would tell me like, yeah, you need to get a A in this class. If you want to maintain a certain grade or whatever, she would tell you you have to get a certain grade in an exam or in a course or in an assignment to make sure you get the GPA you are trying to achieve. So all these resources that are given not only to the students of the university, but I think is an added perk for student athletes. You get additional resources to help you to be successful on and off the field.
Yeah, and just to add to what you said, Tristan, with being a student first and an athlete after. Like I remember when I first went to St. John's, my coach was like, you have 3 plates. You have the volleyball plate, the academic plate, and this is your social plate at the very bottom, right? But being a student comes first, because if you aren't eligible in the classroom, like if you aren't meeting those required credits or courses, then of course, and your GPA falls below the required amount, then of course you can't compete. And if you're given a scholarship, whether it be track or volleyball, if you can't compete, then of course the coach is going to be like, well, why do I have you here? Right.
Yeah.
So being able to balance and, as you said, prioritize your time is very, very important because, as you said, you miss many, many days being away from classes. And most professors don't, let me say don't, but there are some professors that don't really care if you're a student athlete or not. They want their assignments the same time as everybody else. And the advantage we have as student athletes is the fact that we know our schedules ahead of time. The fact that we know our schedules ahead of time, we're going to know what games we have, when we're going to be away from school. So knowing that, you could always go to a professor and say, you know what, I'm going to miss this class. Is if we have an assignment coming up or an exam coming up, could I take it before? So it's just about balancing your time and really trying to structure and prioritize those that are most important. And then, of course, everything else could fall into place. So I truly agree with everything that you just said. How about the positive impact of, studying at Monroe and the University of Houston on your career in sports, and obviously any opportunities that were made available to you?
Yeah, so tons of opportunities. When I first came to the United States, I was introduced to so many people that has such amazing stories and came from really hard situations, but were able to use their education either from the Caribbean or other parts of the world to come to the United States and just make a name for themselves. To take to take advantage of the resources that were given to them. Here at the University of Houston, the student development programs that are offered to student athletes specifically, really provides us opportunities to network, to meet with past alumni, to meet with future employers, to maybe gain an internship, a job opportunity. I've actually had the opportunity of gaining an internship with Atlas Copco, a marketing company here in Houston. How that came about was the student development program here at University of Houston provided I think it was like a workshop, not really a workshop, but like a speed interviewing event for all student athletes within the University of Houston. And there were like about 20 of us, and there were like 12 companies that came. Each of us had the opportunity to interview with 10 employers within an hour to about an hour and a half. 10 employers. So you're just meeting with one company after the next, and you have to remain sharp. After that, the companies would have the opportunity to select one student from each interview that they had. And I received 8 out of the 10 company offers I interviewed with. I got 10 offers. 8 offers. And I chose Atlas Copco because the team, 3 people interviewed me. They were the only company that interviewed me with 3 people. And I just connected with a lot of them because some of them were also past student athletes themselves. And like me, they wanted to do it big in their sport, but ultimately things didn't happen. And they had the thought process of having a plan B. And just speaking with them, they were like, yeah, they truly like the idea of student athletes because of the versatility that student athletes have, not only to be able to manage track and field or their sport, but also handle their business in the classroom. And it also speaks a lot about student athletes who can perform on the track and perform in the classroom and still have the time and energy to do stuff outside, whether that's volunteering, internships, or even a job, just having a part-time or full-time job. It's honestly, I kudos out to any student athlete who does it because it's a lot of work, but the opportunities are definitely vast. They also provide career building opportunities for building your resume, LinkedIn profiles, how to interview with employers and stuff like that. So it really prepares you for the career and life after sports. And like I said, I urge all student athletes to take hold of these opportunities and not just focus on the aspect of playing sports. elevate yourself a little more than just being an athlete.
Yeah, and similarly, you know, at St. John's, we had the sessions where do the mock interviews. They help you structure your resume, because before then, in my first year and second year, I had no idea how to structure a resume. So they obviously help you, tell you how to apply for jobs. And after St. John's, I don't know if you ever heard of optical practical training or if you did it yet, but basically as a foreign student, you're given a year to work in
OPT.
Yeah, OPT. So you're given a year to work where you could get the experience and you could get obviously some funding and well pay. And you know, for me, I worked in New York City with a company called CHF Industries, which works with like top brands like DKNY and so forth. And that was a tremendous experience, being working in the Big Apple, going back and forth and getting as much as I could. And in terms of other positive experiences or impacts based on the education I got from St. John's, is basically you get to network. Like, networking is amazing. You get to network with people, you get to share your stories, and your stories could lead to a potential opportunity. And you know, I was able to play professional volleyball because of the networks that I would have made at St. John's and through the athletic family at St. John's. After I finished my degree at St. John's, having played club volleyball, I was able to get a connection with another coach, and that is where I was able to play my final year of collegiate volleyball and eventually became the graduate assistant. So a graduate assistant is really where you are doing your master's, you're going to grad school, and they pay your tuition. Some of them pay for housing and room and board, some pay fees as well, but I was able to pursue my master's, another somewhat of a free education, and at the same time get experience working with the volleyball team. And through working with the volleyball team, it has really led me to creating a career in, should I say, college recruitment, where I started something called Carib Athletes. And this was really urged to me by my boss at the time. And she, you know, as a graduate assistant, I had to basically look at a whole bunch of recruiting database and try to recruit athletes for the next year or the following year. And she was like, you know what, you should probably do something like this for Caribbean athletes, because on most of the sites we went to, it was American athletes and Canadian athletes. And she was saying that would be a niche market. So I really thought about it. And eventually I said, you know what, this is something that I could truly do. And I created Carib Athletes, which is really a networking company that helps Caribbean athletes connect with coaches abroad and hopefully get scholarships to compete and play the sport that they love in college. So basically through highlight videos, college recruiting profiles, consulting, one-on-one consulting, because obviously the process is so, if you don't know where to start, it could be frustrating, it could be long and tedious, right? So
Yeah.
I was really trying to help athletes in the Caribbean region, because we have the talent. We know we have the talent, but just how do we get out and how do we get there? So I have definitely had the States have definitely had a positive impact on my life and obviously in my career. As I said, I was able to make some connections as well to play professional volleyball in Italy and Spain. So I would never discredit being able to study at St. John's University and the University of New Haven, because it got me where I am today. So I'm truly grateful for that experience. And of course, I was able to make a career out of sport and here make a living out of sport as well. And the education that I would have got.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of what you were saying, I have the opportunity in January to pursue even higher education to get my master's in human resource development, and that's something I'm really looking forward to. And it's not free, but because essentially, you know, we have to work for it. You know, you have to meet a certain GPA. You have to do a thesis. Right. Currently, I'm doing a thesis for my undergraduate studies. And so I'm just grateful for the opportunity to continue to, you know, propel my educational career and also to compete for the University of Houston in my final year of next year, 2021, which is also the Olympic year. So I'm looking forward to being able to hopefully qualify to represent Barbados at the next Olympic Games.
Nice.
Yeah.
So considering that you went to Monroe, is a junior college, right?
Yeah.
So considering that you went to Monroe and then you went to a 4-year university, what tips would you give to student athletes looking to pursue an undergraduate degree and even achieve a scholarship in the US?
I know junior colleges can sometimes get a little bit of heat because people often think that students aren't smart or, that they didn't have good grades, so that's why they had to go to junior college. But essentially, just look at it as a way of just getting your foot in the door. Junior college for me was a great experience. As I said, I left Barbados at the age of 16, and going into the whole college environment was it was very different and challenging, and I felt at times alone. But the junior college experience, being that it was a smaller campus, a smaller school, I was able to really get the training, the tutelage from my coaches as well as the staff that was provided. Even just being able to really transition from the cultural perspective, it was a whole new environment with a very diverse university. So I would say the student athletes take hold of the opportunities that junior colleges provide because they really do prepare you for a 4-year program. Essentially, there's something we call JUCO Strong, which means that to get out of junior college is very hard. A lot of junior college athletes sometimes don't make the successful transition to the university level because it's often frowned upon. But so many great athletes come out of junior college. I think Veronica Campbell Brown, she was an athlete that came out of the junior college, the junior college realm, and she went on to become a Jamaican Olympian. So there are benefits to going to junior college, as sometimes all it takes is just getting your foot through the door, and that is a good avenue that student athletes can take a hold of if they're having trouble, if they're having difficulties attaining a Division I scholarship. There are also other options to go to Division II. Division III, I don't think that they provide scholarship opportunities, but I know a lot of students that have taken have made a decision to go to Division III universities. There's also NAIA, but at the bottom is junior college, and I went through it, and I couldn't be more, happy that I did, because it really did, prepare me for the University of Houston.
Yeah, as you mentioned, there are a lot of opportunities out there via NCAA, NAIA, and junior college. But of course, if I were to give a tip, I would say start early, because many times we wait too late. We know that we want to go to college. We know we want to be student athletes, but we wait so late. And then there's so many steps you have to take to actually get there. Everything from applying for a university admission to being eligible to play. And although you might be eligible to play at a particular university, if you don't get admitted to the university, you can't play. So this process actually takes a lot of time, preparing your highlight video. But if anything, I would say research. Like, the internet is there. You have a wealth of information on the internet. Obviously, you can't trust everything, but go to legitimate sites. And if you know you want to play a sport, research the sport and see which schools or which institutions actually offer the sport. After you do that, you could probably figure out what majors are offered at those particular schools, so you could know, okay, they have my sport, do they have the major that I actually want to do?
Yeah.
You would have mentioned before that, is it a place that I want to play? Is it going to be a large institution that has a large enrollment size? Do I want to play at a school that is small? Do I want to play at a school that is in the city? Do I want to play at a school that is in the cold weather? Like, these are questions you have to answer. You could really start preparing. Of course, you have to do the SAT exams for university admission. Obviously, there are different routes to get around something like that, but at the same time, you want to do it early just in case you don't do well, so at least you could do it again. I know there are many coaches who would have asked me before, do you have any players that, fit a particular position? But we always have players, but at the same time, they're not ready. They didn't do the SATs. Their grades aren't up to standard. They probably aren't doing the required courses that deem them eligible to participate in an NCAA sport or an NAIA sport. So these are things that you have to know in advance. I would urge anybody to start the process early. Obviously, if you don't know, you could ask people. I'm sure there are people from your sport who played at competed at a university, or as Tristan is currently at a university, they're there at the university. So we have firsthand knowledge that we could advise. Of course, there are sites that could help, recruitment agencies, Education USA, my business care athletes. So you want to start a process early, so you wouldn't feel like if you're rushing, you don't want to miss an opportunity. If a coach offers you a scholarship and then you don't have things in place, they could offer it to somebody else. There are thousands of athletes who are always waiting. So these are things that you have to be mindful of. So
yeah, just to piggyback off what you said really quick, for junior college, one of the benefits of looking at that option is that you're not required to have to take the SATs or the ACTs. And the SATs and the ACTs is essentially an exam that gets you into the United States, especially for the Division I, Division II, Division III programs. And going to junior college and not having to take the SATs is a load that is taken off of your plate, because the exam can be very stressful. And like Anicia had mentioned, it's a little different from CSAC and from the CAPE examinations. So it's more suited for athletes to sometimes go the junior college route, to where they don't have to do the added pressures of taking the SAT and ACT exams.
Yeah. So one more thing to add to the tips, though. I found that when I went to St. John's, and you could tell me if you had a similar experience. So obviously we are, I would say, Barbadian and Caribbean athletes. We are raw, like naturally talented in terms of our ability to jump or run fast. But then when we look at the body structures of the other athletes, they're so much more developed than we are, right?
Yeah.
So I find that obviously in high schools over there, they have gyms and trainers, and obviously they develop faster.
Yeah.
But I think that was kind of like a setback for me, where I was good on the court, but when it comes to fitness and physical conditioning, I was at the very bottom. So if you know this is an area that you actually want to pursue, you want to get a scholarship, there are things that you could do on your own, aside from obviously the steps of admission and so forth. But do extra laps, get in the gym. Even if you don't have access to a gym, there are things that you could do on your own, body weight exercises.
Body weight.
Yeah, put yourself in a position where you don't like have to start 10 steps back than everybody else. Yeah. But yes, so those are the tips I would offer for sure.
Yeah. The tips I would offer is to ask questions and take advantage of the free advising that the U.S. Embassy in Barbados has provided, the Education U.S. Centers in Barbados as well, the National Public Libraries, and the Barbados Community College. These are all good resources that I didn't even know that were provided to pursuing athletes in Barbados. And I urge you guys to just take hold of it and utilize it so that you guys can get the best knowledge and information you need on your path.
Yeah. So Larry, I'm gonna allow you to come in and lead the Q&A segment in case anyone has questions that myself and Tristan can answer.
No, yeah, and Tristan, and as Anicia just said, for anybody joining online, and I see that we have over 20 people tuning in, please go ahead and type your questions into the comments box below the screen that you're looking at. I have a question for really both of you, because we talk about going from like Christchurch Foundation and BCC and Springer Memorial and Monroe College, and then you show up in like New York City, or like University of Houston with like more than 40,000 students. What was that transition like?
Should I go first, Tristan, or do you want to go first?
Go ahead.
Okay, so for me, it was definitely a culture shock because, of course, as you said, the population size is big. You're coming from in the Caribbean culture, we're somewhat, I don't want to say, yeah. So being exposed to an institution in New York City where there's so many distractions and other stuff going on, of course, it was a culture shock. But the great thing is that having a program, like I said before, and resources to keep you on track and to guide you on how to go through your day and how to structure your classes and balance your plates, that definitely helped me out. But for sure, the first year was definitely a struggle, just trying to get everything down pat. But once you get that rhythm and that structure going, I think I was fine.
Yeah, same for me. I was a total cultural shock, even being an athlete and representing Barbados throughout my career and being able to travel to different countries. I thought I would have been able to handle it. Like, I thought it was going to be like a piece of cake. But after you leave, you leave a safe haven from your parents, the country that you're going to be familiar with, and go to an environment where, you may not even know many people aside from the coaches who recruited you. Sometimes it can feel like you're alone. I mean, you're surrounded by, like my university, there's 60,000 students. You're surrounded by 60,000 students, but yet you feel alone. So that just goes to put it in perspective. But like quickly, like Anicia said, as soon as you build a rhythm, you begin to meet new people and form connections here, and then it starts to feel a little bit like home away from home, and that's what I consider University of Houston, and being in the United States is like my home away from home.
And for me as well, like there is different groups and societies that you could join. When I first went there, my sister actually advised me to join like the Caribbean Students Association. So at least you have people there that have similar backgrounds to you that could help you apart from, academics and volleyball, because you're spending so much time with your teammates and in the classroom, and sometimes you just want like a change of pace and a scenery. Right. So I was truly grateful to join that society where there were students from, let's say, Jamaica and Trinidad, and just to hang out sometimes and to give your mind a little ease and a little rest. So that helped me as well.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of that really quick, here in Texas, we have the Barbados Association of Greater Texas, which is all a variety of Bajans from all different ranges that came here to Houston to have a life, and that's the one way that they give back, is to helping not only Barbadians but athletes within the Caribbean. So what they do is they reach out to different universities to meet these students, and they volunteer opportunities, but also they provide just like a home for athletes in case they need any type of support. They will come to your track meets. They would, any awards that you may be getting, they will come, because oftentimes we cannot get our families to come to the States and support us in that way. So they will be more than grateful to help, any athlete in that regard.
No, it's fantastic that these networks exist and you're able to key into those and then create your own network of friends, both individually play your teammates and fellow sportswomen and sportsmen, but also those maybe who don't play sports or friends from other classes or other social circles. Very cool. Yeah. There's a specific question, Tristan, on Monroe College. Tony's asking, does Monroe do athletic classes? Do they have sporting scholarships?
Yeah, I attained an athletic scholarship to Monroe. Do they have athletic classes? I don't know what that's referring to exactly. Tony, can you explain a little bit more on the athletic classes?
So then you spent a year.
2 years.
2 years with track.
Yeah.
And then from there to Houston.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a question in the meantime, while Tony might add a couple more details. There's a question from Monique Jones asking, as a parent of an aspiring athlete, how can I start to prepare my daughter for a scholarship? She's in third form, and this is her goal. That's great. That's great that that's her.
Yeah, I'll answer it. So basically, as I mentioned before, there are a lot of services out there that could actually help you get on the right track. There are recruiting agencies that basically plan out what steps you will need to take based on where your daughter is currently at. Everybody's not going to start at the same pace or at the same area. So I would suggest if she really, really wants a scholarship, of course, you could sign up to a recruiting agency. My agency, Carb Athletes, can help as well. There is resources at Education USA, which is located, as Tristan mentioned, at the public library or even at the Barbados Community College, even just to get general information. Be proactive. I always encourage athletes and parents to be proactive. Of course, once you get that direction, you could see or gain a lot of information from the internet. And once you start reading, you have an idea of where to go or where to start. But I would definitely recommend an agency that could help you get on the right path, or even Education USA here, which can guide you accordingly. Yes,
and also I would say if you go on the website, the NCAA's website, they have steps and guides for international student athletes. It tells you all the requirements you're going to need, your transcripts, and also I know a lot of student athletes in the past few years have started the recruiting process, and ways in which they attract the coach's attention is by going to the NCSA, which stands for Next College of Student Athletes. It's a website where you can create like a recruiting profile. You can have your age, your weight, your stats, some videos and stuff like that. You can really introduce yourself to prospective coaches and universities that way.
Yep.
Thank you both, and thank you both for giving a shout out to Education USA.
It's only right.
The embassy maintains a network of university and college advisors across the Eastern Caribbean, from St. Kitts down on through Grenada, including Barbados. So go to the embassy's website, bb.usembassy.gov, or go to the Education USA website, which is educationusa.state.gov, and we can find somebody who's in your country who's been able to advise you on what resources are available. Question coming in from Shanti Ray to both of you. How can an upcoming student transition from school in the Caribbean to college overseas?
You could go first, Tristan.
Very specific question.
I would say just having an open mind. I think that's one of the things that helped me a lot, is just having an open mind to that is going to be a new experience. And yeah, that helps you, because there are going to be things you're going to have to adjust to. You might have to adjust to getting a bus alone, or going to the grocery store on your own, being in a total different environment. Also, I would encourage student athletes to reach out to the program, the staff in the program, to if there are any issues. The one thing that I've learned throughout my process was to ask questions and to ask for help. You're going into a new country, and ultimately there may not be anyone you are familiar with, but reach out to your coaches. They're there to help you, to guide you in any way they can. So reach out to them. I had the opportunity of going to schools where I actually knew people, and that also helped me. I reached out to them anytime I was having difficulties, and that helped my transition to be a little bit smoother.
What helped me, as Tristan mentioned, reaching out to the program. So I didn't necessarily have to reach out. What they did, they actually sent me a booklet, and it really showed me what I would expect when I compete as a collegiate athlete with the volleyball team there. So they basically sent me a schedule, like if I were an athlete at the time, and they were like, okay, this is what you're going to do. You're going to go run this amount of laps. You're going to go do this. So I had a booklet to actually transition easier as an athlete. And then when it comes to the academic side, for me, initially when I went to St. John's, I didn't know what major I wanted to do. So many times you move from secondary school, BCC, and you go to university overseas, and you have no clue what you want to do. And there's some universities that allow you to go in undecided. And I think it helps in a sense, because you could do all these elective courses, because you're still required to do a number of electives, yeah? So you could do all these elective courses, and that could give you a general idea of what major you might be interested in. So that can help as well on the academic side. And then of course, yeah, you might not know anybody there, but if there was a previous athlete that went to the school, or somebody you knew who was even an athlete, just talk to them and try to embrace or immerse yourself into the environment. If you shy away, it's going to be harder for you to actually get in there. So you want to immerse yourself as soon as possible. There are always activities going on. You could, as I said before, you could join different groups that could help you. So there are different areas that ways you could get around transitioning into colleges or universities overseas.
Yeah. Also, the universities themselves provides orientation. So that's where they'll go. They'll walk you around campus. They'll, as you said, provide a booklet, leaflets, maps, just to let you know what to expect. They'll have former and current students to speak to you, so that you can hear it from the viewpoint of from a student, and hear some of the challenges that other students have gone through, because what you are experiencing, I'm sure you are not alone, So just knowing that there are others out there that went through and gone through the same thing that you are experiencing currently, just gives you a bit more a feeling that, okay, better days are ahead. The uncertainty I feel right now, they'll go away eventually.
I think that's great advice, great counsel, that you are not alone, that there are a lot of people who are probably asking the same questions, and that's why these supports and networks exist. Good question that just came in from Trisha Breathwaite. Due to COVID-19, how has training been in the United States?
Hectic. It has been very hectic. Usually we would have like these gaps where you can you may have training in the morning, have a break, and then training in the evening. But because of COVID and they're trying to limit your contact, everything has been bunched together. So I would have weights, and then right after I have the running workout. So it's kind of strenuous, but it has brought my team and I closer. We find that because we can't socialize as much as we would like, we are leaning on each other a little bit more because we are experiencing the same feelings. But training for us, we still have the same goals. We still have the same aspirations of being good on the track and being one of the top programs in the United States. And that hasn't changed. Our mindset hasn't changed. We still try to be as prepared as we can be for the season that's to come, but we're trying to do it in a safe environment to where we are not only protecting ourselves, but our coaches and their families as well.
Anicia, have you seen in your work with care of athletes that individuals are nervous about traveling to the United States or want to defer maybe looking at colleges and universities in the States?
Yeah, I actually had one guy who got a scholarship to compete in water polo, but of course him and his family, they weren't too keen on leaving at the time, considering all of the COVID cases. So he actually was able to defer his scholarship, and I'm finding that a lot of athletes who are given the opportunity, they're getting the chance to defer their scholarships because a lot of schools now they understand the situation, so they're actually providing that deferral to many student athletes as well. But yeah, I don't think there are any athletes right now that are willing to actually go to the States. They'll rather do the online class. So they actually enroll in the school. So they will do the online class from here in Barbados. And then, of course, hopefully when things get a little bit back to normal, then of course they'll be willing to go. The only downside to something like that is, let's say your program, there are some programs who do have seasons and some that the seasons are going to be in 2021. The only downside is if your program does have a season and you don't want to go, I don't really know how that works because, of course, you're missing the chance to compete in your first year. But of course, if you deferred, on the flip side, I believe the school is actually giving you the opportunity to still have that year again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in this age of COVID, everyone is trying to figure out how things can work given the new realities that we're facing. So it's good to hear that those conversations are happening.
Mm-hmm.
Just have a couple minutes left. I want to open it up to you, ladies, for any last words of advice. I know that a big part of being a student athlete is also being a student. And maybe my last question would be, how did you find your passion, Anicia, for kind of business and marketing, and Tristan, your gravitation toward human resources amid the volleyball and the track and everything else?
Well, initially for me at Foundation, I always thought I wanted to be a meteorologist. Yeah. So I was into the sciences. So at BCC, I did the sciences. And then when I went to St. John's, I did environmental studies. But after that, I was like, I don't know if this is something that I truly like or something that I want to have a career in. And it is only when I got to New Haven and I decided, you know what, I'm going to do business because I see myself being an entrepreneur, needing to have the business background. And then, of course, the fact that I wanted to get into marketing athletes and marketing in general, I figured I'm going to go the route with specializing in marketing. So I'm grateful for my choice because I use it every single day. You can't necessarily go wrong with business, even if you are in a science profession or engineering profession, like everything revolves around business. So I'm truly grateful that I decided to go with that. I like it. It's been working for me. Apart from doing the actual business degree, the other electives and core courses, of course, help to build a solid foundation around the degree itself. So there are many other electives and cores you actually do that really make you a well-rounded individual. So I have no complaints on that whatsoever.
For me, how my interest in human resource development stemmed is that as an athlete, I'm always trying to improve my performance. And that's what human resource development does. It improves you in the area of business. And I just always thought, like, how do businesses go about getting their employees to perform the best way that they can in the working environment? And so my studies, I wasn't sure of the human resource development program in the undergraduates. It was only until I was looking at the the graduate programs because of COVID having a extra year of eligibility. I saw the human resource development program, and I'm like, oh, this is great. This is something that I want to do, and I quickly, applied to the graduate school, and I got accepted. And I'm looking forward to learning about how I can go on to improve my performance in the workplace.
Excellent. Well, with that, Anicia, Tristan, I want to thank both of you so much for joining us this afternoon. So much great advice, great stories about your own journeys. I know everybody joining us virtually this afternoon really benefited from the last hour. So thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thanks for
guys.
having us.
To all of our online viewers out there, our journey continues tomorrow at noon on Thursday with another career day. This one focused on science, technology, engineering, and math. So STEM and careers in STEM. So please do join us tomorrow. And please do visit us, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, educationusa.state.gov or bb.usembassy.gov. We want to help you on this journey, and hopefully those of you watching are able to join Tristan in the United States, perhaps as an athlete or an international student, one of the over 1 million international students studying in the United States. So Tristan and Anicia, have a great day. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.